Gotta stay fly, till I die. Man, I miss New York. I miss New York. I don't know why I was singing that song. Anyway, this video, I don't know if you've seen it. I saw a bunch of people sharing it over right on Friday before the weekend. And hey, Mike O'Fallon, man, you got to drop these things on a day other than Friday. Friday's the day that you drop documents and things that you don't want to get seen. Oh man, I actually don't even know if that's true, but it just doesn't it seem like that's what always happens, and the government always drops documentation and things on Friday that are sensitive or controversial, so that by the time you get to Monday where you can talk about it with your coworkers, you just don't care about it anymore. Anyway, this video is really good. I happened to know this was coming out, and I got a sneak preview. About 9-10 minutes long of this conversation, and when I saw the sneak preview, I was super pumped about this. And the full video, at least the first one, 90-minute conversation, is so good. So far, it has about 7,000 views. It needs to get more than that. This is the theory on a high level, the theory behind what we're seeing in the evangelical Reformed Church. If you want to know why Jemar Tisby says the things he says, if you want to know why Dr. Russell Moore says and does the things he says and does, these two guys know exactly why they do it, but their expertise is not the Reformed evangelical movement. They don't know these guys personally in most cases. They know the theory behind it. And so if you listen to this and really take some time to consider what these two men are saying, you're going to get the playbook that Russell Moore will continue to use, Jemar Tisby will continue to use, Kyle Howard, he will continue to use this. And this is the Beth Moore playbook. This is the Tim Keller playbook. This is the playbook. It is critical theory. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, and the thing is, even if they're not self-consciously employing critical theory, you will see what critical theory says and teaches is the case. It's a worldview. You will see that these people are employing it, even if they don't know that they're employing it. They picked it up from somewhere other than the Bible. Because critical theory, in many ways, I said this actually in a podcast before this video dropped. I said that critical theory, what's going on in the Reformed Church movement these days, is a kind of syncretism. They're trying to syncretize and combine Christianity with critical theory, but you can't do it because they're competing religions. They're competing worldviews. It's not possible to compartmentalize critical theory in such a way that it doesn't just take over. I said in the podcast, I said you can't serve two masters. You'll either be devoted to one and despise the other, or love the one and hate the other. That's how it works. That's critical theory it operates as a religion, and I think we're starting to see that with a guy like Jemar Tisby. He doesn't apply biblical categories. He doesn't do that when he looks at the world. He doesn't evaluate things according to the worldview that's presented by Scripture. No, he evaluates it according to a different worldview. And it's a worldview that's informed in large part by critical theory. And if you pay attention to Jemar, he is sort of open about this. He talks about his love for liberation theology and the people that employed that kind of an outlook on theology and things like that. He's kind of open about this. But Russell Moore isn't really open about this. He pretends to still be a conservative, and he might think he's still a conservative, but he's employing a different worldview when it comes to issues of social justice. And there's so many great one-liners. You can always tell somebody's really smart when they can explain in one line or like a few sentences something that takes me like 200 videos to describe. So I highly recommend this to you. These two guys that Mike O'Fallon is talking to, these are two atheists, right? So their expertise is not Reformed theology. Their expertise is not the Reformed evangelical movement. That's not what their expertise is. But what they say applies so well to what we have seen going on over the last few years in Reformed Christianity. Now, I will say this guy, Peter Boghossian, these two atheists, there's a few different kinds of atheists out there, right? There's the kind that are just annoying and, they're just contrarian, not really interested in real conversation. They just want to make you look stupid. But these are the kind of atheists that I feel like I could knock a few back with. I could have a beer with these two guys. And I felt like that for a long time. Actually, I remember exactly where I was. Hats off to you, James White. I remember exactly where I was on my bike I was on the bridge. I forget the name of this bridge now, but it's a bridge that connects the Far Rockaways and like the Sheepshead Bay area in Brooklyn. I was on that bridge, and I was listening to Peter Boghossian's book, A Manual for Creating Atheists. And I remember thinking about that book and listening to his argumentation. He really strikes me as the kind of guy that's at least trying in some way to be consistent. He's after the truth. He's not one of these annoying, like, I just hate everything religion-based or anything that has even the flavor of religion or things like that. He's not that kind of atheist. Anyway, highly recommend this. This is something you should definitely listen to. And I'm still thinking about what I should do with this video, because I'm thinking I'm not going to respond to it because there's really not much for me to respond to. But what I'm thinking about doing is watching the key parts of this video where they really have some keen insights. And they're not experts in the Reformed Christian movement. They don't have a lot of knowledge in that area. I mean, their knowledge that they do have is pretty accurate, but that's not their area of expertise. They don't spend a lot of time watching Matt Chandler videos like I do, you know? So I was thinking, taking the key aspects of this and then showing you exactly who and how they are people in the Reform movement, Russell Moore, Jamar Tisby, Kyle Howard, oh my goodness, and Matt Chandler, these guys, how they are doing what these two guys say they are going to do. I think that might be interesting. Let me know in the comments if you think that would be helpful, so I will do that. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say about that. Now, I'm actually going to be taking about a week and a half, 2 weeks off from doing videos, so I wanted to leave you with something to think about while I was gone. And, I'm not so sure if I can put into words exactly what I want to communicate here, but I'm just going to say it, and, people who don't like me, they're going to take it the wrong way anyway. Who cares, right? I think Donald Trump, the president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, has done us all a humongous favor. I think President Donald Trump has done us all a humongous favor. And I don't know if he did it intentionally. I don't know if this is just his personality, but he has given us an example that I think is worth following in a number of areas. Now, obviously, not everything that he does and has done in his life is worth following. There are some things that are reprehensible, no question about it. But some things about his character, I think, are quite good and things that we should seek to cultivate in ourselves. And one of those things is, it can be boiled down to a very simple, it's a proverb that you learn as a child. Ready? And it's not actually 100% true, but in general it's true. Ready? Here's the proverb. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Now, strictly speaking, that's actually not true. Names can hurt you. You know what I mean? People could say something about you that could actually really hurt you. There not physically, but sometimes physically. But they could hurt your life. They could hurt your economic prospects, your employability, things like that. There are certain things, and we have a category in law for some of this stuff, slander and libel, that you can actually have a monetary life damage on you based on just words. So it's not that this is 100% true, but there is some truth to the statement, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. The idea behind that proverb is that someone's name calling, someone saying something against you, only has as much power as you give it. Only has as much power as you give it. Because if you fall apart at the seams, like we saw in that socialist, democratic socialist video where someone uses gendered language, he says, guys, don't do this. And that you could see that man in a dress, he just falls apart at the seams, and it just, he can't even fathom someone using gendered language like that, and he just falls apart. Like, he's allowing that to have so much power over him. I mean, all you have to do to trigger this guy, say, guys, and he has such little self-discipline that he falls apart at the seams. And there are a lot of people like that. People call them snowflakes, right? People call them snowflakes. And if we're honest with ourselves, each one of us knows that in our past, we have exercised a lack of self-discipline. When someone calls us a name, we fall apart at the seams. We let it have a lot of power over us. Donald Trump has been called all kinds of names. And I don't know if he just doesn't care, or if he just has a lot of self-assurance, or if he has a lot of courage, but he is willing to do and say things that he believes are right. You know, I don't think he's like this monster who's trying to do wrong. I think he thinks he's doing right with the immigration stuff, with his remarks and things like that. He thinks he's saying the right thing, but he knows full well when he pushes this border wall, for example. He thinks that's the right thing, but he knows full well what they're going to say about him. They're going to call him a racist, a xenophobe, a bigot, a hater, this and that. And he just doesn't care. Because to him, I don't know if it's, again, he doesn't care or it doesn't affect him or whatever, but he just doesn't care. He doesn't let that have any power over what he does. He knows something he's going to say is going to get him called a racist, and he just doesn't care. That is something that I encourage all of you guys to cultivate in yourselves, because the reality is that these terms, like racist, for example, have been so devalued that they really have no meaning anymore. Reasonable people understand that if Nancy Pelosi is a racist, then racist really just has no meaning anymore. You know what I mean? It just doesn't. So when someone calls you a racist, honestly, it shouldn't really affect you that much, unless you're being racist. So if you're being a racist, this is not an excuse for you to continue doing racist stuff. But it is an encouragement for you when these woke church people call you racist because you don't, I don't know, listen and believe, or you don't. I don't know. It could be anything. They could call you racist for anything. You have a Confederate beard, so you're a racist. Like, just remember that who cares? Who cares if they call you a white supremacist racist when Matthew Hall, the provost of Southern Seminary, is a white supremacist racist? Obviously, it has no meaning anymore. Now, if you are a white supremacist and you are racist, repent. That's evil. Stop it. But actually, I didn't even want to talk about racism here, because the term I had in mind when I was thinking this was the term conspiracy theorist. You see, Jeffrey Epstein supposedly committed suicide in his jail cell. And look, this is a moment that I don't want you to forget, because almost everybody that I've seen comment on this is like, yeah, I don't believe that. That didn't happen. He didn't commit suicide. And, you know, that's not a conspiracy theory to deny it, because there is so many reasons why you should deny or should be skeptical anyway of this ridiculous story that he committed suicide. There are so many irregularities. There's so many convenient, facts and truths that lead you to believe. Look, there was a replacement guard there. Cameras didn't work, supposedly. He was just taken off suicide watch. Like, all kinds of crazy things just kind of all lined up. And now he supposedly committed suicide the day after he gets all this information gets released about incriminating powerful people. It just doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't make any sense at all. But I want you to remember this, because what you're being told is that he committed suicide. And if you don't believe that, you're a conspiracy theorist. Conspiracy theorist has become like the term racist. All a conspiracy theory means at this point is that you just aren't going along with the primary story. You're not going along with what you're being told. And I want you to remember this, because the people that are telling you you're a conspiracy theorist, if you don't believe this, these are the fake news people. Objectively so. This is not opinion. This is fake news. And so I want you to remember this, because I think this is people call this the red pill, right? Remember this, because it's not just with Jeffrey Epstein that the media lies to you. I'm not going to say it's with everything, but it's with a lot of things. We can see the fake news. It's been documented how much we're drowning in a sea of fake news about Donald Trump. And so don't believe it, man. Don't believe it. You are not a conspiracy theorist if you doubt the story that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. The only time you become a conspiracy theorist with stuff like this is like when you start to say, well, he didn't commit suicide, and I know who did it. I know who did it, when you don't have any evidence of who did it. Like, someone did something to Jeffrey Epstein. I think that's pretty obvious. But when you start to say, well, it was definitely the Clintons. It was definitely this person. It was definitely that person. Like, that's when things start to get in the realm of conspiracy theory if you don't have evidence for it. So here's the deal. Jeffrey Epstein, the whole situation with that, I want you to remember this, because we have a tendency to forget a few days later. The next big thing comes up and we'll forget about Jeffrey Epstein. Look, somebody whacked this guy. And so I want you to remember that the next time somebody has sort of a story where they talk about the deep state and you start to poo-poo it because you've been programmed to think, oh, that's conspiracy theory. I'm not going to listen to him. I'm not saying you should believe every conspiracy theory that you hear, but at the end of the day, if you don't believe any of them, chances are you've got a bias there, because so many things that have been called conspiracy theories at one time or another have come out as true. And we've acknowledged that they're true. You know what I mean? So there's two camps you could fall into. You can believe everything you hear that's a conspiracy theory. That's probably pretty stupid. Or you can believe none of them, and that's probably pretty stupid too. But anyway, don't feel bad when you hear the media calling you a conspiracy theorist or a racist or an SJW, an anti-Trumper, you say, oh, that's conspiracy theory. Oh, man. Sticks and stones, man. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. See, Donald Trump has done us all a favor. He even if he's just doing it just to trigger people or to troll people, he retweeted someone that would be labeled a conspiracy theory about Jeffrey Epstein. And even if he's doing that just to troll, I don't know why he's doing that kind of stuff. But he's done us all a favor because he is willing to look like a buffoon to most people, to most media, and to be called all kinds of names and to be ridiculed and all that stuff. He's willing to do that, and he just doesn't care about the results of that. In other words, he doesn't care about people think he's stupid. He's the president. He doesn't care. And I think he's made it respectable to question some of this stuff, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's very respectable to question the veracity of this ridiculous Jeffrey Epstein story. Absolutely respectable. And Donald Trump has done us all a big favor by giving that at least a little bit of legitimacy. I think that's actually a pretty good thing. And I think it applies to the racism stuff as well. President Trump can say, look, I disavow racist, I disavow white supremacist, I disavow David Duke and all this stuff. He can literally say those words and the media will spin it into me. That was a dog whistle. He's actually supporting it. Like, this is the kind of thing that they do to Trump, and so we all see that, and we're like, oh, well, if they do that with Trump, they'll definitely do that with me. They'll definitely do that with so-and-so over here. Like, I'm not going to buy it anymore. I'm just not going to buy it anymore. And so I'm very grateful to Trump for that, because he's demonstrated how dishonest people are, and he is, I don't know if courage is the right word, but he just does not care what people say about him at all. And I think that's a very good thing for us all to embrace, because if somebody calls you a racist and you're not racist, don't let them have any power over you. Don't fall apart about that. Don't alter what you do or say based on that, just because somebody calls you a racist, because that's what they want. They want you to control your behavior. They want you to stop talking. They want you to do things the way they say they should be done. And their weapon is to call you a racist or a white supremacist or a conspiracy theorist or whatever it is. That's their weapon. Take it away, man. Take that weapon away. Don't let them have any power over you by what they call you. And that's that. Anyway, I'll see you guys in a few weeks. Hope that was helpful. God bless.